Hey y'all, welcome back to the garage, welcome back to the channel. Guys, I posted a picture of a bunch of this AN fittings and hoses and stuff like that I'm putting together, and my inbox just went mad with people asking all sorts of questions about AN fittings, and it seems like there's this common knowledge amongst y'all that these are really difficult to assemble, and they're not. I'm going to show you just how easy it is, but before we do that, go down there in that bottom corner, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, help fill out. We're almost to 400 subscribers. Not quite yet though. We got to 399 and YouTube was like, oh no, we're gonna back that off a little bit. Bastards. Anyways, guys, what you see here is a bunch of AN hose, AN fittings, AN couplers, hose connectors, AN wrenches. This stuff is all from Evil Energy. I get it all off of Amazon. I'll post some links down below to this stuff. I get this off Amazon because it's readily available. And the reason you know it's not aircraft AN is because if you were looking at the fittings, there would be a passageway hole through every one of these nuts where they would be safety wired, because everything on an aircraft is safety wired. And if you had actual aircraft AN fittings, they would cost you a lot more money. They're generally about 10 bucks a piece. The couplers are a little bit cheaper. But the things you need to put this together, okay? You need a good pair of gloves, right? You're gonna need yourself a roll of electrical tape. You need some Loctite, but I use the Loctite on, hold on, building coolers and brackets and what have you. But so I'm using Loctite on like these fittings. It's not getting used on these fittings. So right now we don't even need the Loctite. Just ignore that stuff. Yeah, so right now we don't even need the Loctite. I've already measured, my hoses are already cut, so I don't even need a tape measure. So now we're down to a pair of gloves, a roll of electrical tape, a rag, a pair of wire cutters, that belongs over there, and some good old water displacement 40. If you didn't know what WD stood for, it stands for water displacement, and it's fish oil, just so you know. Alright, so let's go over a little bit of history of AN fittings. Typically, when people see these, they associate these with aircraft, and that would be absolutely correct. These were developed for the aircraft industry by a company by the name of Phillips, I think it was. You would think it would be Parker, but I believe it was Phillips in 1942. Now, if you think back to real AN fittings, you notice that they're typically blue on one side, red on the other. A lot of people think that means that it's an actual aircraft fitting, and it's not the case. What that is was a salute by the manufacturer to the United States Armed Forces, which is who they developed them for. Anyways, what makes them special is they all got a 37-degree angle on them. They seal really well, and if you should damage a hose at a race or something, this stuff is pretty easy to find. You can build yourself a new hose instead of having to run to an auto parts store. If you keep a surplus on hand, you know, you do all your own hoses at home. It makes getting to things really easy. This is all going on an oil cooler that I'm building. And at this point, guys, I'm going to shut up and I'm going to show you how to build one of these. You can see, I've already built a couple of hoses. Came out real nice. Time frame to build these, and they're probably about 5 minutes a piece. First thing you're going to do is get your hose, straighten it out pretty good. Doesn't have any crinks or stuff like that in it. Going to take your piece of rag and about 2 inches from the end, start wrapping it. And come over to a bench vise, and I guess I should have mentioned this is a tool you may want to have. Put your hose in there right where the rag is, crank it down so that it's firm, but not that you're crushing the hose, and then make sure that your hose is straight. Okay, this is the fitting that we're going to be putting on here. And the main thing that you got to know about these fittings is this piece is going to screw onto your hose in a counterclockwise direction. This is going to be the second piece that goes in. This is going to screw in a clockwise direction. Now, the spot where everybody seems to have a bunch of trouble is getting it started. So, grab yourself some good old electrical tape. Go over to your hose end. And what you're going to do is you are going to wrap this in the same direction that your collar is going to screw on. So in this case, I'm going to start my electrical tape right here on the end, and I'm going to hang about 1/8 of an inch of that electrical tape off of the edge, and you'll see what that does. Okay, then what you're going to do, get a piece that hasn't lost all of its sticky. Hold that with one finger and start to pull that electrical tape as tight as you possibly can. And what will happen is that little edge that you're hanging off of the end is going to start to curl in right to your hose. Give that 2 solid wraps, and I mean really stretch it tight, and pop it off. Then grab your textured gloves, because you're going to need a good grip for this. A little shot of slippery juice on the inside of your collar. Over to the end of your hose. Push it on firm and just start turning. And you'll know when this grabs and sucks down, because what's going to happen is your electrical tape is going to start disappearing to the inside. Let me show this to you. As I was screwing that down on the inside, you can see the hose making its way up. So this is actually bottomed right out where it should be. Now that little bit of electrical tape that's still there, one is you can cut it with a razor blade if you want to, but what's going to happen is when you go to insert this in here, it's going to push it out to the outside edges. So now that that hose is seated, stick it back in the clamp, and you're going to push that in until those threads catch. And this is where I'm going to break out the wrench. Stick that on the coupler, then finish cranking it down. And that, y'all, is how simple it is to build an AN fitting. Swivels exactly like it's supposed to. No frayed ends. Don't got a bunch of little holes in the ends of your fingers. Just that simple. Hope y'all found this video to be helpful. I hope y'all are no longer intimidated with building AN lines. They are super simple to do. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with the rest of your buddies that are completely intimidated with AN fittings, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.